back in session. We have conducted our second round of interviews, and we need to discuss where we go from here. I guess one question comes to mind is whether we need to do a site visit. And I know we've talked about that, and I guess we need to decide whether we feel that's necessary or a good idea. Have any thoughts on it?
It might depend on how our discussion with candidates go.
One of the problems is all of the candidates are a good ways away. It would be a day trip, at least 3, 4, 5 hours away. So that would be a factor to consider.
I know that sound.
Okay, we can deal with that if we need to. I guess at this point, we probably want to talk about our 2 candidates. You guys got anything you want to start out with?
Are we going to go through each one separately, or?
Probably the way to do it. That's the way we did it before, and I guess that makes the most sense. I guess it help us to get your feedback at this point. I mean, we have our ideas, and we try to do what we talk about.
Is there one you want to start with, or?
Doing the order we talked to them today, that might be this.
Okay. Well, first of all, we want to thank you thank the board for allowing us to be part of this process. We take this very seriously as well, and we're really happy to be part of this and to see all of the candidates. We feel, after talking today, that there's one candidate that we feel is stronger than the rest. We're excited about that. To start with our first candidate, John, we felt he was very consistent with his interview from last time. We were very impressed with the fact that he's been researching our community and that he has knowledge as to what's going on. The fact that he came here yesterday and was driving around the community and talking to people. We're very impressed with his experience in the classroom as a coach and as an administrator. Very impressed with the fact that he would be a great ambassador to the community and for the school. We admired his leadership, and any concerns that we had with his how long he wanted to be here and his salary, I thought were addressed today. The growth opportunity, the only thing we saw would be just his knowledge of Minnesota law, and I'm sure he can probably catch up on that very quick. That was it for John.
Okay. Anybody else?
I can talk
Yeah.
about it. Thank you guys as well. I wasn't at the first one, so this is my first chance in all of them, and I just kind of went positives and negatives. Just for John, what I had for strengths was his experience, which you can't argue with the experience that he had, like he says. He brought up relationships. When he talked school culture, his first word was relationships, which was awesome. Later, I heard in the interview, do what's best for kids, even if that means saying no to things. But it seemed like continuously it was do what's best for kids, do what's best for kids. Battle tested. Some of the stuff that he's been through down there, you can't replicate what he's been through. Goosebumps. You could, even though he was calm through the whole thing, he was a very even keeled, but you could see the glimmer in his eye when he talked about the kids. And you could see, you know what I mean, you could just tell, even though it was calm, you could still see that little glimmer come out. He wanted to, when he came in, it was, listen, it wasn't, I'm going to come in with 10 new things and run. It was, I'm going to come in, I'm going to talk to people, see what you do well here, see what you don't do well here, and then go from there. So so he's not just gonna turn stuff around. And like the teacher said, he's research rushed for Peterson. He's been in, he's been out, he came yesterday through the snowstorm. There's some dedication to that of wanting to be in this place. The negatives, the only thing I had was, as they said, the disorder issues, some of the educational issues that were brought up, and then his delegation, where he said he's getting better at that, but tried to take on too much. Sometimes is that a weakness, I don't know, but he had that.
Anybody else?
I agree.
Okay, we're going to start at the other side of the table today.
Well, yeah, this was pretty easy today, I felt like it was just a lot of positive too. John Thompson especially is, I just felt genuine, he was a genuine man, he seemed genuinely invested in coming here and made me feel like he would love to be here. Relationships to me are huge, and I felt that that was a priority for him, and I was impressed with that. Even though he, maybe isn't familiar with Minnesota law, it was clear with his work with Pat Grassley that he was willing to do what it takes to engage in our representatives and so on at the state level in order to get and to me that's a huge item to mental illness. And I know us people who are at the legislative forum, it's a huge issue in a lot of schools. So I was impressed that we had firsthand knowledge and working there. And your turn.
The top would be his experience in leadership, he's proven it throughout, like I said, some of the tough times he had to go through. He said relationship with staff is very important. The kids are important. He's from Iowa. The last guy we got from Iowa wasn't too bad.
Keep in mind, he was a native Minnesotan.
Well, there's a strike there.
I'm agreeing with what others have said here, and also like in terms of legislative and so laws that having this experience I just felt, the project is the best.
What I like is he's a listener. He would put people in like small groups or one-to-one, larger groups, building a relationship. I like how he talked about that. Mental illness, what he did for that. And one of the growth is to delegate.
I know sometimes I can drag on this. So, I obviously like John first time we interviewed him. My biggest reservation about him was I didn't know how long he was going to stay at the school, but it made it seem like he was for the long haul. So, and I could beat the dead horse and say, well, it's got experience and come in the office and really get the ground running. Minnesota specific stuff, we're probably going to rely on the staff a little more to get them up to speed, so we can get a little.
Part of the process, we're not supposed to be picking our winners yet. We're still just, giving our strengths and opportunities for growth. And I agreed really with everything everybody has said. His experience really for us is definitely his high point, I guess, or biggest advantage to hiring him. I like that he emphasized listening. He also mentioned integrity a number of times, that people will trust you as long as they understand that you have integrity, so you show that. I thought he had a really good answer. Once Val asked him for a little bit
follow-up connected access special health, like mental health services by, through legislation, that's good. I did see, I thought, just as far as an interview, we had so many questions that asked for a specific example, and every one of those questions, he was never gave a specific example. He just kind of said more about what he, what he believes in. I guess I would like to hear some specific examples for some of those. He kind of de-emphasized school policy, and I wasn't sure that I thought that might be an opportunity for growth, just because we've had some feedback, from the community maybe about policy not always being followed equally, and so that might be something. And I do think even, the experience is a positive. You can also look at it as, sometimes, and I don't mean him in particular, but getting somebody that has a long experience somewhere else, are they really just looking to replicate kind of what they've done, or are they looking to kind of move into the future and try new things? So I don't know, I just try to look at that from both sides, I guess, but definitely he exudes confidence and gives me confidence in him.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that's been already mentioned. One thing I thought was positive, he mentioned mentoring younger teachers. I thought that's a very positive thing. And looking at funding, getting a social worker into the program. He certainly had enthusiasm. He seemed the integrity was good. I do have some concerns about different structure or culture moving from another state, but I think that could be easily overcome with leadership, and he does have the experience. I don't know if the fact that he basically looking to retire and move on, I don't know if that's a good thing or bad. I'm still doing that in my mind, if that's if he's at that point in his career where he just wants some challenges. I'm not sure how that fits, but he certainly, I would think he could hit the ground running and do a good job if he is back there. Okay. Anybody, anything else? All? Okay. Then next moving on to Jay Miners. Go ahead, Forrest.
Well, I think his first interview, I think he really impressed everyone with his interview skills and how well he did answering questions. We felt his interview today wasn't as strong as his first interview. Some of the positives that we liked had to do with just his classroom experience and the fact that he's so focused on helping teachers and wanting to do things with staff development that would be maybe new and inventive. As far as growth, obviously he has no experience as an administrator, and he also doesn't have any experience as far as the legislative standpoint either. And I kind of brought up the point of when we were in, this summer we went to a workshop in Cass and Manitowoc called First Institute, and there's a bunch of teachers that went. Mr. Tim went with us, and all the speakers there are all very inspirational, and they get you pumped up about education. But when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, they really don't have details, so they're all about the big idea. And I think Jay kind of struck us as that, as being very inspirational, and to get us fired up about certain aspects of education, but in the end, he just doesn't have any specifics or experience to back it up.
Great thoughts.
Positives for him, definitely a passion for teaching, a passion for education, working at the school and also at the college. He's helping train teachers. very innovative professional development ideas, kind of gave specific ideas about individualized professional development for teachers. Talked about challenging teachers. He's been in the classroom now and sees the teachers are challenging them. Brought up sensitivity to new initiatives, always that balance, and something new comes of not just adding on. Sometimes you gotta take away as well. And then the quote of the greatest enemy of good is, or the greatest enemy of great is good. He says, we're good right now, but how do we get to great and not be complacent? From some of the negatives, kind of the same thing that the teachers said. And then his answers, even though they were good, they were answers I'd hear in a teacher interview. They didn't seem very, that next level. It was a lot of, in my classroom I did this, in my classroom I did this. It's answers that if I was interviewing for a teacher, I'd hear a lot of those type of answers.
Anything else? I'll start out with this one. I liked, he seemed to be very enthusiastic. I thought that was positive. I like some of the community service days, the student volunteer leadership issues that he had, initiative. It seemed like the community was important to him, and he seemed to be enthused about coming to this community. I do have concerns about his lack of administrative experience, but he does seem to have experience as a leader, which I think is key. I'm less concerned about that. But anyway, I thought the accountability he thought was important, and developing subordinates. So pretty much my thoughts on that.
Well, I echo some of the things I've already said. I thought both of the interviews were pretty good. I like his focus and knowledge on learning and, what goes on in the classroom. Because I was thinking about it, and a school district is so many different things. It's the athletics and the activities and many things, but at the heart of it, it's about teaching and learning. And so I liked that was really his focus. Kind of related to that, he seems to have a real passion for teaching and learning, and he talked about ways of developing and retaining good teachers. As far as an interview, I think maybe I was listening to this. I've been reading too many papers where people have to give specific evidence, but he had really specific answers to everything, so I felt like I got specific examples. He had researched the community quite a bit since his last interview. And I guess one more thing was I liked that in his research, he said a challenge for RP coming up, and he noted that our new school referendum barely passed, and that we only passed one of our levy questions last year. And I thought that was pretty astute, so he said his goal would be to get the community behind the school again. I really liked that idea. Of course, his lack of administrative experience is definitely an opportunity for growth, although everybody starts out with no experience at some time. And I did check because I was wondering about this at noon. I looked back on the survey we did. I showed this to Val and John, where we asked staff for what's most important, and the board. And I found it was less than half of the staff that said it was important that the person have superintendent experience. And nobody on the board said that was important, that they have superintendent experience. So at least when we started out, that wasn't our main goal. Also, though, compared to other candidates, he doesn't have coaching experience, I don't think, and that's also part of his job, he's supervising that area. So that's it for me.
I'll tell you, Forrest, you kind of nailed it on that one. He's very inspirational, and he would be an advocate for teachers, and then he would make you guys want to perform at your best. So when it comes to teacher development, I think this is your guy. Areas for improvement are the same as everyone else. The administrative aspect of it. There's probably 1,000 other things that we don't know. The superintendent does behind that closed door to keep this school running, and he doesn't know about those things. It's not saying that he can't learn how to do it, he seems like a quick learner, but that's something that,
I love his answer to culture, how everybody's involved, staff, student, teachers, custodians, kitchen employees, teachers, everybody. You develop that culture of the school and you can feel it when you walk in. I really like that answer. And his direct answers of what he could see to improve stuff at RP. Yes, he's a motivated speaker, but I also believe that he also takes it to his classroom and develops this and uses this. So I think he would challenge the teachers to use this, to be behind him, to develop new stuff. And about the community, involving the community, getting them part of the school. Get the kids out to volunteer, I like that, in the community. And the growth, of course, no experience.
No, I don't know, I guess it was maybe just a feeling while he was talking that not always genuine. I thought that the culture answer didn't quite hit the mark. So I think his references were very positive.
positive. It sounds like he thinks outside the box, not just your normal routine type of thing. He was saying as a superintendent, morale is down, it's his job to find a way to boost morale. I like the idea that he's, student-driven volunteer in the community. I think, it's nice that he is in the teacher position, so he knows the teachers, he cares about the teachers. He thinks teachers should have the same decisions, and that also helps to boost morale. He said no experience with state legislatures, but he does follow it. Helps other teachers to excel. And like Chris said, the biggest concern is the lack of experience.
Very similar to what other people, I was impressed with his answers and his honesty with, he hadn't had experience in there, he didn't try to sugarcoat anything, he was very honest about the fact that he didn't have. And his best answer for me was when he failed at something at Cal 2, and the way he told himself he wasn't going to go there again. And I did appreciate that answer. I thought that was very, very wonderful on his part that he had that initiative and vowed to not have it happen again. So I did like Jay a lot and felt that his downfall was the experience thing, and also, I don't know, today just felt different than the first time. The first time I would have flipped a coin for one or two, and I just felt like there was a difference today, so.
I just want to say a couple other things. I had one that everybody's kind of leading with their negatives, and I was shy about saying too many positives, but just specifically, when we asked, I really liked his answer on the school culture and morale too, but also he was very specific when we asked about what practices would you like to bring, that from from your past district, and he had, again, specific answers, and one of them was some things with preschool, which I think is, that's a topic of the moment, and he said you've got these beautiful preschool rooms, and now we need to develop your program. And then the thing about the community service, which others have mentioned, this is other specific idea. And, it is true that lack of administration experience is a negative, although he's like he said himself, he's not at the beginning of his career, he's had a lot of, he's had leadership experience, as John said, so I don't feel like he's a complete newbie and has nothing to do, or no idea about what it would take to lead a district, plus he's been teaching in educational leadership. Yeah, so, anyway, I just want to make sure, I felt bad if I didn't say those just because I was being shy, because I didn't want to have too many positive, but I want to say those two. So,
He also talked about teachers' input, and he said one way to make the teachers to feel valuable is choice, content, and clarity. I thought that was.
Anything else? Okay, let's move on to,
Well, we certainly thought it's definitely very personable. Again, as far as an interview, it seemed like he wasn't as strong today as it was last week. And maybe it was because of the drive or whatever, but there just wasn't the energy behind him that there was last week. His positives, they really focuses in on student relationships, the collaborative aspect with teachers and administration. We like that he has the legislative connections, or understands that aspect, and that he is bringing some experience to the table. Some of the growth opportunities, I don't think we were still convinced that he would exhibit firm leadership or how he would handle conflicts. And that was kind of one of our concerns from before. We're hoping we maybe see more of that this time. And especially when you asked the question about having to say no, and we thought that was not answered very well today.
Positives for Todd, very hands-on. We talked about having subcommittees and pulling teachers together, different groups of teachers to learn from them and get their input on stuff. Not a micromanager, kind of said do your job. Expectation is you're hired for a reason, so do your job. Collaboration, seemed very collaborative. Brought up social emotional learning, which is another buzzword right now, and talked about doing some different things in there with the schedule and tweaking some stuff there. Areas for growth, was wrong on the referendum right away. He said that our referendum, most recent one, failed, so he wasn't up to knowledge a little bit there, and just seemed to be very much more interested in the area than Russia Peterson schools.
okay. Anything else want to lead off?
I'll start, it's okay. I like Mr. Lee as well. I felt he had a lot of positive qualities as well, but one of the things that I really did enjoy was his mindful moments, harmony and grit, and the social emotional learning. Those kinds of things I feel like are essential in growing our kids. Not micromanaging, he made an effort to discuss that as well. He seems to have some technology background and wants to implement that. Talked about IEPs and 504s and that we're supposed to know them and follow them, and that sometimes is a very difficult thing to do, so I like that part. He seemed excited, but again, last week I felt that right away, I felt like he kind of started out slow, but at the end of the interview, I felt like, ooh, you're fired up. And today I never got there. He never got me that fired up feel at the end, like he did last week.
Right, Jeff.
Yeah, he seemed like he was not on his game, or his game was a little off as compared to last time. He values beliefs, he celebrates success, not only in academics versus sports. Leadership, a leader should also be a learner. So he wants to, willing to learn. Active in student government, active with state legislatures, so that would be a plus. Don't rush into, the one where he failed was he rushed into a program and it failed, so he said don't rush into the program. Proactive against bullying, especially with social media, I think.
A lot of good points. He didn't seem to speak up real well. I have some trouble hearing him. Maybe I'm not the only one. But technology seems to be a strong area, and to make the best use of it for student learning. Trusting teachers and involvement in solutions, and making sure you're providing the resources needed.
I like what he said about special ed transition, to have internship, to learn local trades. And this program's on social and emotional, little segments of that for the students. Not a micromanager. And I also thought his interview was not there today. Pretty quiet. Also have the concern about leadership, leadership.
A lot of people listed micromanager as a positive about him. But in my opinion, there's a fine line between delegation and not being involved enough. One thing that kind of stuck out during this interview is something along the lines of, what are my other duties as needed? I mean, we all know superintendent's a 24/7 job, and I don't know if he's going to be involved enough, or, I mean, I guess I really don't know how to word that. Seems like he may delegate a little too much of his duties and not be involved.
So he also was really focused on teacher development and seems to be teachers. I liked the social emotional learning. I thought he had a really good answer on the failure question, which sort of became the one I was really curious to hear from everybody. He seems to have a wide knowledge and seems very intelligent. So I think those are all strengths. As far as the opportunities for growth, I had that same feeling about the interview today. I kept thinking, now what was I really liked about him last week, and it never came up again. So, like you said, maybe off his game. Let's see, I didn't like his answer on policy either very much. I don't remember what he said. He does not, I don't think he has a teaching degree or actual classroom experience. I think he ran an independent study. And I think that could be a drawback, not having that experience. And I, like Jake, I thought he was more excited for our community than for the school, and, yeah, so.
Okay, I liked his legislative experience. That was very, very positive for me. And I also liked his idea of walking Wednesday. I thought that was a very innovative idea. And I'd like to steal that one. But I also felt he was really just low energy today. And I'm glad other people picked up on that too. I just thought it just didn't seem, and again, many of them, driving, 5 hours, on a bad road isn't a good way to start your day. But I did also was concerned about his more interest in the community. He likes the recreation opportunities, all wonderful things. But then when he followed up with, what are my duties? Well, he's already a superintendent. And you're not going to be reinventing the wheel. So that was a concern of mine. But he's certainly bright. In his first interview, I was more impressed, but not as much today. But certainly, I'm sure he can do the job. But there might be a learning curve there for him too. Anything else for comments? Okay. I guess at this point we need to decide where we want to go from here. Do we want to talk about the site visits? Do we want to, I suppose there's no rule against doing a third interview if I mean that. But
I think one thing I would say is that we all came into this building, I think that today, like, these three were pretty equal, or last week we said, wow, we're really sure these three are the top. We're not sure exactly what order they would go in, and if nothing else, I think we probably eliminated one of the three today based on everybody's comments. I'm not sure we're at that point of being able to eliminate one of the other two just based on board responses and comments. I have no idea where we go from here, I just thought I'd toss that in there, but at least we maybe have eliminated one.
yeah, no, I can't disagree. Anybody, any thoughts on whether we need to do more follow-up with any of the candidates? Pay to drive to their community and talk to people? Probably
I guess
doesn't hurt,
I'd be
but
a little-
it might not be that much benefit. I'm just.
Are we really torn? If we're really torn between 1 and 2, and like you said, we could eliminate it. If we're really torn between the next two, then the next logical step would be to do site visits. Like, are we really torn? That would be the question.
If we're really torn, I think all of the board kind of has an opinion on who their number one, number two is. I don't know if we can talk about that today, but if number one is pretty much the same, then we're really not torn.
I guess there's no hard and fast rule. What do they recommend? Do we take a vote, or is it a?
I don't know about both. I think it's more, the ideal situation is if you can deliberate the decision and sort of come to consensus.
Okay. You talked about two candidates. The impression I got that Mr. Lee was not one of the top two candidates. Does anybody disagree with that? Okay. Anybody want to make a pitch for one of the two that's remaining?
I'd like to see us do site visits for the other two.
Before we make any further?
Yeah.
Okay.
One other issue there is that one of those other two is a teacher in a district, not the superintendent. So can you really, if you get a feel for that district, is it really to his credit or his responsibility? I mean, it's kind of apples to oranges if we go to those two districts. I don't know what else. We should say, speak up.
She helped you get to this point, but now it's something we're on our own.
I don't believe we need like business. There's a room full of people here that got opinions of everybody, all the candidates over two different times. And I'd like to think we could form a pretty good opinion about both our top two candidates. Speaking of-
I think the reason I thought we were close was that just listening to people, I thought I heard one was definitely number one. But then if you look at our scoring, it's the other one that I think we created that exceeded in his answers more. So, so it's not just cut and dried.
Yeah, he answered his questions, like the first interview, but you have to go back to, he doesn't have the experience. Do you want as a school board to pay him to learn here? I guess I'd rather have a guy with the experience. Right.
Yes.
So would I, and although, he shaded really well on his questions, very inspirational, not having any of that experiences. Right, because there's probably a lot of things that, like you were saying earlier, a lot of things behind closed doors that you don't know what Mr. Hager does, or as a superintendent, what they have to do. It's under John, I think he would know all of it. Seems
So
like
maybe the two are not close, but it's not the result that it shows on our paper, is what
Right,
you're saying.
right.
It's going with that. If it's
Yeah.
going with it.
But if you add the E's and the M's together,
And what stage the moon is in,
And they are both fine, good,
Right,
good
right.
candidates. We are in a great spot.
yes.
Could
I
they-
came in
could they-
today.
But I don't want to go extend and then miss out on an opportunity also. That would be,
Could Jay do the job? Probably so. I mean, he seems like.
I
he
came
would
in
be
want
today,
to learn.
I came in today thinking that any of these three after last week, I thought any of them, I think could do a good job. And
Yeah.
I would feel fine about any of them. And today I feel better about two than I do about three.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would think
Jay does have experience in, leadership and the Domino Pizza thing. Is it the same? I'm sure there's a lot more to it than that's why I would look for the guys with the experience.
As a practical matter, we need to think about, we have potentially two candidates. If we make an offer, they probably are interviewing. In fact, John said he had another interview, and it very well may be that Jay does too. If they're ready, they accept another offer, we need to be able to quickly move on to a backup plan B. It might be a good idea to move quickly rather than not so quickly.
Smithy,
do we have to wait until the 19th
No, we don't have to wait. My understanding, that was the day we were going to kind of put together the package, but we can certainly discuss that prior to that. I mean, that's 2 weeks away almost.
So maybe we should make an offer sooner rather than later?
That's what I'm thinking. Unless somebody has I can't see a reason to wait, let's put it that way.
that's right, I agree.
And we really, Laura and I were not given a lot of guidance on this part of the process, I don't think. I mean, she kind of led us up to this point, and then we didn't get a lot. So, I mean, I don't really know. I think we could just do what we do. Right?
would it be okay to
pretty clear, don't you think?
Well, but ultimately, we have to make a decision, so.
Yeah.
We can't do a secret ballot. Which is we'd like to.
So we don't hear it, you know?
If someone can make a,
Someone could make a motion for one of them, I guess.
To offer a contract, can you do that?
Sure.
All right then, I'll make a motion to offer the contract to John Thompson.
Okay.
Joyce will first.
Okay. And, see, that was, Wade. Okay, so any more discussion? Anybody wish to? All right, well, that is the motion. We go ahead and, I guess we need a roll call.
Chris Grinland,
yes,
Valerie Howe,
Yes.
Joyce Iverson. Yes. John Linder,
Yes.
Jeff Michael,
yes.
Bonnie Princeton,
Yes.
Kathy Wade.
Yes.
All right. It is unanimous. So I
You
will
can call
do that. And then we need to put the details together because we need to offer him a package, basically. And that's another thing.
Are there guidelines for that? Or, I mean,
What's the negotiation board going to do that?
okay, gotcha.
And we can meet very quickly.
Do you have to wait till you come up, till that committee meets and then call them, do you think? Well, this is
No.
a public meeting,
Right.
so
No,
you should be able to.
Yeah, no, we need to let him know right
Yeah.
now. And I mean, if he turns us down, we need to know that too.
Right,
away.
absolutely.
Yep.
He certainly didn't give the impression he was going to sell.
Yeah. I guess
And you could just tell him the negotiating team needs to meet.
right. Yep, and I can give him a call today. And then we'll go from there. I mean, we'll need to meet with him again at some point. But, I mean, we will have to meet with him at some point. We need to have a plan of what we want to offer. I think we kind of know where we have to be on that. And his salary was, we talked about that. Okay. Who's on the negotiating committee besides me? Okay, so we need to meet soon, next week. I guess, or next. What times are good for you guys?
Unless it's in the
You got
morning.
work, right? Later in the day, work better for you?
John? Any day.
Okay. For Tuesday, that gives us enough time to 4:30?
Okay.
Okay. What we have on here is, I got it. Yep. Mr. Taylor, we have a couple things we need to talk about.
Yeah, item number 11, Dan has some information for you there on requesting approval for a head track and field coach, Dale Moga, who has been serving as one of our, is it co-Dan or assistant, head assistant?
He was serving as an assistant coach hired through Houston. Earlier this year, you'll recall, well, earlier this school year, we made that into a joint co-head coach position. Actually, that was last July, I believe, June or July we did that. So Houston has a person that they are bringing forward at their next board meeting to hire a co-head coach there. This would be bringing Dale as a promotion from within, but a new hire for us then, because he has been employed through Houston. but has been a long-term member of our track coaching, or track program as a coach. So this would be hiring him as a head coach to fill that spot. And then it would be serving as a co-head coach with another one from Houston then, as part of our co-op with them.
What Dan and I see as a strength is consistency. He knows what has been done in the past. He's very familiar with the program, and he knows our student athletes as well, both from both schools. And so we're very confident that he could step in and pick up and continue what we have in place, what Coach Wade has put in place for us. And we're very excited that he has agreed to enter into that arena for us. Strong recommendation on our behalf to hire Dale Holger as our head coach.
Just so I'm clear, there'll be 2 head coaches, I mean, it'll be,
Correct. How they divvy that up, one will be entering the boys lineup, one will be entering the girls lineup, but they share, as far as day-to-day coaching interaction with the kids, they share that, as they always have, based on different specialty areas within the track and field events. So they'll work hand in hand, but that's the idea. Yes, we have two varsity teams that's sharing that responsibility.
so, you know, the old saying, when 2 people are in charge, nobody's in charge, this doesn't apply.
That's not a concern at all. It's very similar to what a number of other schools, for example, Caledonia is another one that does it that way, with co-head coaches, sharing responsibilities, working with the kids, where they have one assigned as a boys head coach and a girls head coach.
The other candidate has experience with,
Is a current staff member at Houston, a coach in a different sport, but a coach over at Houston as well, and has expressed, obviously, continuing with employment through, or on the Houston side.
anybody else have any concerns, questions? Look for a motion then to approve the hire of Dale Holger.
I'll make that motion.
Wade,
I'll second.
second by Clinton. Any more discussion? All those in favor of approving Dale Moga, co-head coach for track and field, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carried. Good. Okay, moving on to item 12, the rescind the motion regarding the retirement incentive. Mr. Edler, you want to fill us in on the background?
Sure do, thank you. I thank you for at least entertaining the idea to give reconsideration to your approval and non-approval perhaps to the 3-year plan. As I reflect back on that, perhaps I didn't stress enough to you as a board member the importance with the number of teachers that we have that are eligible. We're very limited this year, but long-term, it's going to have a significant impact on our flexibility as far as our staffing needs going forward. And so I think that it would be prudent for the board to give reconsideration to the 3-year plan so that it provides us the latitude and flexibility to address some of our staffing needs that we know will be confronted with as we move into the 1920 school year. So I'm advocating to you to, based on what I know that we're going to be dealing with, and in visiting with Mr. Tim and Mrs. Lawson and Mrs. Olstead Shepherd, that again, this creates us some flexibility and latitude in our dealings and abilities to address those staffing needs for the upcoming school year.
Anybody have any questions?
Can anyone make the motion to rescind, or does it have to be the person who made the motion?
No, anybody can make a motion.
I would make that motion. Right.
Second by Lydia. Any further questions or comments on that? All in favor of rescinding the motion to approve a 2-year early retirement incentive, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Nay.
ask that the board approve the 3-year.
Yep, that's where we're headed.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
Yeah, that'd be the next item on the agenda.
Thank you. I didn't read far enough.
Anybody have any discussion on the 3-year retirement? So we wish to make a motion to that effect? Any further questions or comments? All those in favor of approving the 3-year retirement, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay, anything else? Bonnie, you had a couple of questions or a couple of
Yeah,
thoughts?
and this would probably be fast since Dave's here too. I just wanted to talk about athletic practices on snow days. I've had a couple of parents contact me with concern that they thought there were practices going on days when we thought it was too dangerous to have school. And I don't know if that's happening, that's what they said. And during e-learning days, and also that even if practices are called optional, that kids always know they're not really optional, that, you know, if you want to play, you're going to have to get to practice. So I just promised that I would bring it up at a meeting, so we have a policy we're following
I
on
think,
practices.
I think past, as interview questions today, I think past practice versus policy. I don't think we have a policy per se.
We have a guideline that we use, and Dan and I have been in agreement with that. What transpires is that the coaches contact Mr. Bieberdorf, and then he and I confer and decide on a decision if we feel that the conditions would allow students to come. Yes, they are not mandatory practices. Yes, there was a misunderstanding in regards to e-learning days. We did get that clarified with our coaching staff, so we're confident that once they understood that practices on e-learning days did not start before 3:30, that was communicated very clearly to them. So again, in the 12 years that I've been here, this would be the only second complaint that I've received in regards to our decision or flexibility to determine when and if practices can or should be held.
Does it have the potential to be a liability issue, you know, if it's too dangerous to have school and then a kid has an accident?
You know, it's no different than a parent in the morning when we run our buses. You know, we always tell parents, you're the ultimate decision maker. If you feel that it's too dangerous to put your child on the bus, that is your decision. We support that. And we continue that policy. I get it that parents feel that coaches are going to punish an athlete or a student is going to be punished because they're not in attendance for school. That is not the case. Again, we're going to respect that parent's decision. But I can assure you that our coaches are not of the mindset that they're going to take it as a negative that a student or a parent decides that it's too dangerous to send their child in for practice. I just can't fathom that to be a part
I
of
can
our...
share an example of last week. There was a member of our basketball team, girls basketball team, that indicated she was not coming in. The coach said, my daughter saw the group chat, said, definitely stay home. Obviously, no repercussions for doing so. The coach said, yes, stay home. So I share that. And we evaluate. There are days where we just say, absolutely no, don't. For example, yesterday, no practices at all. We knew the road conditions were extremely bad and getting worse. So we do evaluate, obviously, on a situational basis. It can be too bad, even for the ones in town. No, stay home. So, but definitely 100% optional. And our coaches are very supportive of that, with no repercussions.
Great, thanks, I just promised I would bring it up. So
Sure,
thank you.
understood.
Thanks for your explanation.
We understand.
And my second thing, John, I was just wondering when we meet on the 19th, if we could review that superintendent job description that we looked at a couple meetings ago. we looked, it was very long, and we looked at it and approved it kind of quickly, and just in thinking about it later, I wondered if there were a couple of things in there you might want to take a look at it, and maybe it would be an appropriate time to do that on the night.
Now's the time to do it, and John probably wants to see it as well. I mean, if we're gonna update it or revise it, that would be something that needs that. That should be on the agenda for the okay. Anything else? Okay. For a motion.
Oh, so moved. I heard it was really cold.
Is there a second? All in favor? Thank you for
I wanted to thank all the
Thank you.
to know the board
Yeah, very helpful.
during these interviews, that you get to meet. I didn't know all of you real well, and it felt like a nice kind of bonding time. I appreciate it. And Gloria, would you expect everybody for their background?
Okay, I was really,
Well, was it a negative?
Why is it every time I see that?
Yeah.
there was some,